again. This is our webinar just talking about pay per sale and pay per appointment, which also known as revenue share. We'll kind of dive into all the nitty gritty stuff. We got nothing to hide here. So as we go through this process, please ask questions and ask away. And we've got a bunch of other webinars that previously on this topic here too. So if you have questions as we go here, feel free to add them in. But we'll kind of walk through absolutely everything here for you. As well as this is obviously we're all on a call together. So if you guys have questions just about the lead generation industry or about our company or about the market at whole and kind of what we're seeing, I'm happy to answer and help answer some of those questions here for us as well. So just to kind of give you an idea of contractor appointments, we handle over 100,000 homeowner requests a month in roofing, window siding, and bath. So we've got a decent pulse on the marketplace as a whole, as well. So we're getting those leads from a variety of different sources and different media types, and are always using different sources to get those leads in the door. And with that, we're gauging a lot of homeowner interest and kind of demand. And we see that kind of ebb and flow as the weeks and months and year goes on. So without further ado, we're just going to dive into some basic questions here today, and let's just hit off here. I'll ask you a couple questions here, Michaella. Just overall, what is kind of pay per sale? What is revenue share as a whole?
Yeah. So to keep it simple, it's exactly what it sounds like. So RevShare or pay per sale, it's a payment model where you're only paying on the leads that turn into a net close. So for us, net close is once you're post rescission, post financing, if they need financial approval, that's when the fees are due. So it's not your typical model. You're not paying for each individual lead that comes in. It's not raw leads. It's the way that we do our RevShare program is we're doing it as appointment based, as preset appointments, but you're only paying for the ones that end up turning into that net close.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's exactly, I think the traditional model within lead generation is obviously paying for every lead that you receive or every appointment that you receive. RevShare it's kind of this joint up partnership of saying, yeah, you're only going to pay if you actually close the sale. So we're incentivized to send you as much, leads that are going to result in sales for you. As well as obviously we're counting on you to close the deal. You're at the end of the day here too for any revenue and to pay for the marketing spend. So it kind of just aligns interests across the board.
Absolutely. Feels more like a partnership that way. We both have equally invested interest in that sale.
Yes, absolutely. And we've always, obviously at the end of the day, the only reason why you buy leads from a lead provider is it has to back out for you. It has to fit your cost of marketing. Here too. So, that's how the industry works. It just is an alignment with a revenue and the dollar amount. So we kind of switched to a pay per sale model back at the beginning of 2020. It was a great pivot for us at the exact moment before pre-pandemic, kicking off here. But that was really our number one goal, is to kind of align best interests, or kind of align our interests with our customers. And it's blown up. So we're not turning back. We got a bunch of great questions in here. So percentage of sale, we'll get to in just a minute. That's on my list. So we'll go ahead and dive into that here. Lisa, you said, are you getting charged for bad leads? Well, with pay per sale, there's no, this whole adversity. That's one of the reasons why we didn't like pay per lead or pay per appointment and working with companies. It's it feels like we have opposing goals. It's like, I'm going to sell you a lead and value it at X, and you're going to go, well, that's not good enough for me, so you're going to return it. Well, I still had to pay to get the marketing and the customer to fill out the form, regardless of how quality or good they were. It's
right.
And the truth of it is, let's just be honest, not every lead is made equal. If I generate a lead from Google search, I have to spend so much more money to generate that lead for you, but I can only charge X. But if I go to Facebook, it costs me less to generate that lead, but I still get X. So that's not fair for either party there. So that's why paper sales, like, it allows us to use every marketing means possible to get you leads in the door, because at the end of the day, we're managing and trying to make sure that's fitting within your cost of marketing. So we're doing that for you. But again, there's bad leads. Like, people fill out the form all the time, and then 2 minutes later they have amnesia and they have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I wish we record every lead that goes through our website, and it's like, well, you just filled the form out. Okay, I don't know. Like, maybe your wife did it or your husband did it or something. I have no idea. But it does happen, on any lead form, period.
Yeah.
So, but a nice thing is you don't have to do returns on and go through that process.
Exactly. You're only paying on the ones that actually turn into a close.
Yep.
So it kind of takes away that pain point and that tension there, since you're only paying for the ones that we give you that actually turn into a close.
Yep, absolutely. So I think the next question is just kind of like, who's a good fit for paper sale in this process, or let's even sorry, I'll reorder the questions. Let's just dive into some of these questions on like the percentages of appointments, of even walking through like what we deliver versus like it's not a raw lead, it's an appointment, and kind of walk through that process.
Yeah. So to kind of back up on our process, we're sending preset appointments. And so I'll back up even further into that as far as where we're sourcing our leads, what those leads look like, how they come through the funnel. So to start at the beginning, I like breaking us up into 2 buckets. My first bucket is just how we source our leads. We touched on this really lightly, but to dive deeper, we essentially source leads from anywhere and everywhere possible. So we use our own internal sourcing. We're using Google Ads, SEO, social media, whatever digital means necessary to be able to drive traffic to our landing pages. And that way homeowners can actually book appointments through our website, through the form fill with our contractors. We also partner with over 250 publishers. So some of the bigger ones there are like Bob Vila, This Old House, Fixer.com, Forbes. The forms on their sites that homeowners fill out for more information, we get that from them. And then in addition to that, everybody in the digital lead space buys and sells leads to each other. So we jump in there and we're actually purchasing leads from other lead ags as well. Now, that can be kind of all over the place. That leads into my second bucket. We do a basic pre-screening on all of those leads, no matter what. So whether it's through our website, through our SMS text system that's built out, our inbound call center, whatever it may be, we're doing a very similar process with all of them. We're confirming that they're actually interested in the project. We're confirming their basic information with them. We're confirming that they are the homeowner. And then we're asking trade-specific questions. So whether that's roofing, it's repair, replacement, material-based, windows, how many windows they need replaced, bathrooms, wet space, whole remodel. There's a few ways that we can get a little bit nitty-gritty there, but we're asking trade-specific questions. Once we confirm all that information with them, we're going to give the homeowner general dates and times that our contractors are available. The homeowner gets to book a preferred date and time. We set the expectation with them that it is a preferred date and time and that the contractor will call to confirm. At that point, that's when we're sending it your way. As soon as they book that preferred date and time, it's coming to you. There's a few ways that we do that. We integrate with most CRMs. We have our dashboard, we have email, and we have text notifications. So that way you have the ultimate speed to lead experience there to have the best results. The homeowner at that point is expecting a call from your company. They know the name of your company, and most times they know the phone number. And then from there, that's yours to work how you see fit. So you'll do your normal process on that. You can do any more screening that you need to do on your end, since ours is very basic. They come in a little bit more engaged that way. And then you have the flexibility to move that appointment time around as needed.
Yeah. And we get the question too of just kind of why aren't we selling just leads and just the raw data into your call center? And the biggest thing we made this decision of why to do kind of a preset appointment is that I know any of you have filled out a online lead form and then been contacted by everybody and their brother. Like, you just get 10 phone calls. And I mean, you deal with leads all day long. Most of you who, your call center agents pick up the phone. You're like, you're the 10th person to call me. Stop calling me. You're like, we just called you once. This is our first call. And it's just not a good experience from a homeowner's side of things. And we like, you hear speed to lead out there is like this common mantra, but every one of your competitors are also using the speed to lead. And like the only one who loses in that speed to lead situation is the homeowner. Like we all want to serve the homeowner, but also if we're all doing the same thing, their phone just blows the heck up. So that's why we decided it was like, well, let's make sure homeowners want this, and then they're opting in and consenting to a second layer. So when it comes to like we purchase a lead or we're generating a lead, we are not passing that data over to you and the raw format. We're only going to send it over to you when they've actually said, yes, I'm actually ready to book an appointment. If they're not, we'll do the follow-up until they're actually ready in that stage. Not everyone is. Some people just want information or they're going to do it eventually. We'll keep that. We'll keep onto that. We have really good follow-up processes, and eventually you might see that customer. In addition, not everybody wants multiple estimates. They already have two. They just need a second. They want a first or a second or a third estimate for their project. They might only want one estimate or two estimates. We don't automatically send that over to 3 people. So homeowners opt into how many appointments that they want for their reasons. So, I mean, if they want 2 estimates to compare, all they do is book 2. So we're not, sending it and distributing it to a third company just because we can. Again, this is where it just creates for a better user experience in that process. And then the third piece of it is, again, when they opt in for you to contact them and to book an appointment with you, then they're more likely to pick up that phone when you call them to confirm that date and time appointment. So there's just multiple layers of like higher level of interest. They're obviously in a more of a buying window when they book an appointment with you. So stacks the odds there, as well as when you're booking an appointment with a company, you're expecting a phone call. We make it very clear to them that their appointment will not be confirmed unless you answer your phone call, as well as we give them your contact information. So, and then we actually follow up and go, have you been in contact with with ABC Roofing yet? As ABC Windows, have you been in contact to confirm your appointment? Yes or no? If no, we send you another message to get in contact with them, as well as add their phone number. So you might get calls from the customer who just booked an appointment with you to confirm their own appointment, which again, you'd rather have an inbound call than have to outbound every one of these people too. So that's why we've built it on an appointment side, is really to maintain the integrity of the customer's experience as a whole. So that answers that question. A lot of questions here. We can go through just some of them here. Let's go through here. Jackie, you had you got back from a conference here and said lead volume has been down for everyone. We'll come back to that at the end of the spot here. That's a great question. The percentage per sale. So let's dive into that really quick, Michaella.
Yeah. So the percentage, it varies based on trade. And so for roofing, gutters, and siding, it's 12% of the total sale once it reaches the net close. For windows and bath, it would be 15%. Very simple. Just on the total sale once it reaches net close. And just so you guys know, our fees are due weekly on Fridays. That's how we do reporting. We have a dashboard. I think I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it fits with it. So as far as reporting goes, we give you a dashboard. It's very, very simple. It's like a mini CRM, very user-friendly. And in that dashboard, when you're doing the pay per sale, that's where you're updating those leads. So it's really important to stay on top of that status. They're all going to come in automatically as new because they're a new appointment. And then it's up to you whether to put it's a confirmed appointment, a no bid, bid working, hired, or bid lost. Once you move it into hired, that's what triggers our system to pull weekly on Fridays. So you want to make sure that you're not putting it into hired until you are at a net close status. So once you're post rescission, post financial approval, that's when our fees are due based on what you put hired in your dashboard.
Yeah. And now I got a question here. Just are we sending just the newly captured leads in real time? So that is, to answer that question is like everything is real time. So if a customer books an appointment specifically with your company, you will see that lead texted an email to you, delivered into your CRM system immediately to call them and confirm their appointment. We are not sending, if a customer just fills out a form, period, we're not going to send you that lead. We only are going to send it to you when they actually book an appointment. So again, customer fills out a form, they can book an appointment right online with your company. They can, if they don't book online, we're going to follow up over a text message, give them a phone call, see if we can help them in any way. If we can, well, and you're the company that can help them, we'll book an appointment and you can call and confirm your appointment right away. So Lisa, you had a bunch of questions here, which is something we get a lot here, is like, what if you can't get in touch with this homeowner? What if there's an invalid phone number? What about the leads that are not, are not quality, is kind of what you're kind of getting at here. And Michaella, you can answer that one.
Yeah, so it kind of depends. When we're talking about the RevShare, you're only paying on the ones that turn into that close. And so what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to disposition that in the dashboard. We look at that feedback on our marketing side. And so if it is something where their phone number bounces, the phone number that they provided when they made the appointment isn't right, of course, put that as a no bid, put a note as to why, etc. It's really good to just communicate those things. And the more you can update your dashboard with more accurate information, the better it is for us to know what's working and what's not as well. So when we're talking about the RevShare program, the pay per sale, it's not as vital, I'd say, towards your company, that if those things bounce back, it happens. It's a digital lead provider. No matter how much work we can possibly put in, there's always going to be those leads that aren't the best quality, aren't the best fit. They don't fill out their information correctly, whatever it may be. But that is the nice part about the RevShare, is you're not paying for those ones. You're only paying for the ones that turn into the close. Now that can vary a little bit when we're talking about pay per appointment, which we can touch on a little bit later. But just kind of a brief summary of that is, with our pay per appointment, I like to lean on the side that we're a little bit more lenient for credits. If it's not a valid lead, we're gonna credit that back. So if the phone number is wrong, if the address wrong, whatever it may be, if you've reached out to that homeowner 6 times, 3 calls, 3 texts, they never answer, they don't confirm that appointment, that qualifies for credit. It's in our book more of a no-show that way, because we set that expectation with them that it's not going to be an appointment until they confirm it.
Yeah. Well, and just to reiterate here too, is again, people can fill out their wrong information or test the form. I mean, I don't know if I'm guilty of this too. I'm like, oh, well, let's see what this, form gets me, they can fill out incorrect information in there and still book an appointment with you. And then you're like, I can't get a hold of this customer. Well, it's a bad phone number. They didn't like phone calls, so they put the wrong phone number in there, and it might still be a good customer, but they put the wrong phone number and whatever, or mistyped it or whatever. So that stuff does happen. Absolutely. And it's all part of kind of being online and in the ecosphere that way. But the one thing that we have recently added to help improve this process is, I can't get a hold of a customer, I'm having trouble getting in contact with them, is that our system, we're on the same page, same team here. So whether you're like on revenue share or however we work together, our goal is to get you in touch with that customer. So the first stage of every communication you have with every customer that books an appointment with you is getting in contact with them. So 90% of our contractors want to speak with that homeowner prior to sending a sales rep out and issuing the appointment. And it's our goal to get you in contact with that customer. So they book us an appointment, a soft set appointment, and then immediately prior to that appointment, we're going to go, have you been in contact with that customer? When they book an appointment, we're telling them, this appointment will not be confirmed unless you have a phone call with X company that you booked with. And then our follow-up is going, have you booked an appointment with? Have you spoken with them yet? And if it's no, then we're going to help follow up with you and give them your phone number to call. We're going to try to get you in contact with them. You can mark in your dashboard, I haven't been able to contact them. Our system and our team will work on your behalf to help you get in contact with that customer. We already have lines of communication with them, often over text message already. So why not tag team this and try to get yourself in contact. So contact rates have been down industry wide. If you like from, carriers blocking your SMS channels we've heard all sorts of stories in this industry, and spam likely very common. All these things, again, we're just kind of working together to be able to get that. You in contact with them is the number one goal. And then from there, you're able to, confirm and go through your process of getting them into an issued appointment.
Yep. And I did see something here. We don't currently offer solar leads at the moment. We're not onboarding any new solar companies.
Yep, absolutely. Lisa asked if we integrate with AccuLinks, and yes, that is one of the many CRMs that we can integrate with. Can you recap the pre-screen process, kind of what we do when booking an appointment?
Yep. So through that process, there's a few different ways. We have the SMS text system, our inbound call center, our website. Regardless of which method they're coming through, we're reaching out to them. We're confirming that they're interested in the project. We're confirming their basic information with them: name, phone number, physical address, email address. We're confirming that they are the homeowner. And then from there, we're going to ask the trade specific questions. So for roofing and siding, that's going to be like, is it a repair? Is it a replacement? What type of material? For windows, it's going to be how many windows they need replaced.
Yep.
And then bathrooms is going to be wet space versus remodel. And then from there, once we confirm those questions with them, that's when we're going to give them the general dates and times that the contractors are available. They get to book the preferred date and time. And that's when we set the expectation that it is preferred and that the contractor will call to confirm.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lisa asked a good question here too, is do you send out leads to multiple companies at the same time? If so, how do we know where we stand in line, and when it comes to us, we have called the person and said they booked with something, if they called and said they booked with someone else? That's a good question.
Yeah, so we do send to multiple companies to an extent. So the homeowner's booking those appointments themselves. We put that decision back on the homeowner. They get to choose whether they're booking 1, 2, or 3 bids. So once they basically book their first time, we say, would you like to compare that with a second bid? They can say yes or no. We give them general dates and times outside of that appointment that our contractors are available. They get to book that. They know the company that they're booking with in that case. And then they get the option for a third as well. Right. So it's, you won't necessarily know if you're the first, second, or third, or what order or when or how you compare with those other companies. But it just goes back to the homeowner. It creates a better homeowner experience. Typically, if they're only booking with your company, it's because they're coming in with an estimate already anyway, and they're trying to compare. So you're going to want to work that just like you would any other lead, and still go out there and give them your bid and try to sell yourself and do your value statements and whatever else it may be, and just kind of take that into account that even if it is something where they're only booking with you, you're not going to know. So just treat it like you would any other lead that you get in where you're trying to sell your value.
Yep, absolutely. And again, you can confirm this appointment and move it once you get on the phone with that customer. The goal of getting them a date and time for their appointment is to ensure that there's a level of interest there for that. So some of our companies, I'd say most of them kind of roll with the times, because you give us their 10, 2, and 6 availability, and they, you have that available. But if you don't, you can move it to like, hey, are you available at 2 instead, and go through that process. When it comes to how we rank the companies on our platform, so I guess to ask one question, or to answer one part of your question, is that our system is smart enough to never book 2 appointments at the same time. So you're not gonna show up awkwardly at the same home within an hour and a half, 2 hours of one another. If they book one appointment, our system won't give them an appointment for at least 2 hours. So it's smart enough to not make you have awkward conversations, or your sales reps in awkward conversations. But that's just one thing to say on that side of things. We'll go. Let's dive into kind of how companies rank on the platform, and kind of your order that you're going to show up and have the more likelihood of getting more appointments booked.
Yeah, so there's a few different things that go into this. I would say first and foremost, it's going to be revenue per lead. And so to kind of dive deeper into revenue per lead, that's going to be how you're ranking as far as whether you're first, second, third, etc. The revenue per lead on a pay per sale plan is going to be the amount of sales fees that you generate for us divided by the amount of leads that we send you. So whatever your average cost per lead ends up averaging out to be is your revenue per lead. And the better your revenue per lead, the higher you're going to rank. Now, when we're talking about a RevShare, that's what we're putting into it. When we're talking about pay per appointment, that's a set fee, and it's going to be averaged out by what you return as far as how you rank there. So that way you can still compete with those that are on pay per sale. Now that's going to be the number one component, the first thing that we're looking at. The other thing that we're looking at is your availability. So the more open your calendar can be, the better off you'll be. So obviously 10, 2, and 6, a lot of companies do that. There's not a problem with that. But if you're a company that's available between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., that's just going to show up a lot more as far as availability. And then the homeowner, it just gives the homeowner more options. So first and foremost, we're looking at your revenue per lead, but your availability is also going to kind of tag into that.
Yep, absolutely. And this is kind of like the algorithm of how you think about like a search on Google. It's like, why do you show up 1 or 2 or 3 on that side of things? We've had to kind of do the same thing as well. We want to make sure we're serving the homeowner and giving them the right amount of choice in who they can choose. But also we found revenue per lead is kind of like, well, obviously it costs us money to generate that customer in the door. We have to kind of rank our contractors by the anticipated revenue that we expect. And we're very transparent about that. If you're questioning whether kind of where you stand in that process, our account management team, customer service team, are an open book. We can, share with you where it is. You might rank higher in one zip code and lower in another zip code just because of overlap in other companies as well. But ultimately, our goals are aligned. We can kind of help guide you to be able to show up the way you want to, where you want to. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of the biggest pieces on that side of things.
And to jump in, I want to just jump in a little bit on that side too. When we're talking about RevShare and we're looking at that revenue per lead, a question that I get a lot, I haven't seen it come in yet, but I'm sure it's in the back of everyone's mind. What about when you're first onboarding? How is it you don't have a revenue per lead built yet? I just want to set the expectation that we do artificially inflate the revenue per lead to an extent for the first 50 appointments to give you a chance to earn your own revenue per lead to see how you rank. With our RevShare program, the first 50 to 100 leads is almost like a trial to see how you're fitting in. And then you'll be able to work with your account management team and the customer service team. If your revenue per lead isn't sitting where it needs to be for the market, we can have that conversation with you. Like Sean said, we're very transparent. We want to work together. So if your revenue per lead is coming in too low, you're not seeing any volume, we can work together to figure out the best plan. And if it's something where, we can do like a trial period for the next 60 days to see if we can get up, we will. If it's something where we just need to switch to pay per appointment to ensure that you're getting volume, that's another option that we have as well.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, at the end of the day, there's another question in here. Do we limit the number of companies that we work with in each city or county? And we can go into that here too. Yeah,
so to an extent. And so the things that I'm looking at when I'm onboarding new companies is I am looking how many folks do I have in your territory, because it's going to be based on your zip codes. And so I look at basically what percentage of your zip codes have how many contractors. And then in addition to that, I'm looking at, okay, well, if it's a flooded market, how are they performing in that market? And do I have room for you with volume? And so there's a few things that I go into. Most markets, I can fit somebody in. Sometimes I have to do it on pay per appointment simply because those that are on pay per sale are performing really, really well in that market. And even though we artificially inflate that revenue per lead, if I have folks that are performing way up here and our artificially inflates here, which is normal, you're just not going to see any. So in those markets, I'll typically onboard you with pay per appointment, do a trial run with that for 1 to 200 appointments. After that point, I can calculate what your revenue per lead would have been if you were on pay per sale. And if that average can compete at that point, I'll switch you if you're interested. But there's not many markets, but there's a few where the volume just won't support having anybody else. And in those cases, I'm also open and transparent about that. I'm not going to onboard you so that we don't get any volume. And so if it's a market where I have 6 contractors that are all doing great and the volume just won't support someone else, I'll be honest about that.
Yeah, well, I think that's one thing you'll kind of notice as as you have phone calls with Michaella, like we end up turning away more people than we onboard on a regular basis, and that's not to say anything negative about the company. We just want to make sure it's going to be a good partnership both ways. So that it just has to be. So honestly, I think every one of our contractors that are on the platform wants more leads than we can give them as we can right now. So we want to make sure we honor the people that are currently on platform here too. So do you have a timeline on when sales need to happen? Some of our sales take a month or more. That's a great question, Lisa.
Yeah, and Lisa, this not necessarily. So basically, anytime within 2 years is when our fees would be due. If obviously you squeak outside that 2 years, that's not owed to us anymore. Now, to kind of back that up a little bit, in our dashboard, that's where it's going to be important as far as putting where that sale is at. And so if you get to the point where you're past 30 days and you're still in like the bid working status, you're still working on that sale, we understand that, but our system isn't, it's very smart, but not smart enough to understand that you're still working that. And so it'll actually flag that, be like, hey, you need to update this. And in that case, all you have to do, what I would do is move it to bid lost. You can always move it back to bid working or hired at that point. So if it's going to take you longer than 30 days to close that sale, that's totally fine. Move it to bid lost for the time being. Continue to nurture that lead. If it ends up turning into a sale, at that point, you would just move it to hired instead.
Yeah. And Lisa, I think that so there's some companies that we've added pay per sale that have been more insurance restoration. So they did they're waiting super long time before they can truly close the sale. And we just found that those companies are a better fit for pay per appointment because their revenue per lead and just drops so dramatically. So again, we're measuring really the previous 90 days worth of what your revenue per lead has been to determine kind of how you rank. And if it takes you a long time to get a sale in the door, you will drop out a little bit. You'll have a little bit of drop off just because that revenue doesn't come in the door. I will say we've had a handful of companies that are on the platform right now that their sales cycles are 30 days in those range. But I'd say most of the companies on the platform have a ticket size of like $15,000 to $20,000, and that's kind of the average. There's some that obviously higher and a little bit lower, but that's probably the average ticket size is 15 to 20,000. And they're the one call closed. They're trying to sell. Most of their deals are going to get done within 30 days. I have a handful of companies on the platform who their average deal size is probably 60 to 100,000 in per sale. And those sales cycles, obviously, it's larger revenue, longer sales cycle, and they compete really well on the platform and can still do that, even though they get 100 appointments, and all of a sudden it's like boom, they got one sale and then another sale, and then it's just everything's delayed and it still works. So that can work as well. On the other hand of things, on paper, on like a hail insurance, holding that insurance stuff for so long, sometimes that can be 6 months before you get approvals, depending on how your insurance processes are, can really kind of get outside of the bounds of it'll end up hurting you and end up making you switch to a paper appointment anyway. So that would just be the kind of better route to go to start with. So Michaella, if you want to go through that, and let's just talk about who's a good fit for revenue share and where that would be where it is good. And then we do have alternate, things you can do like pay-per appointment here too to go. So.
Yeah, there's a few things that we're looking for as far as who's going to be a good fit to partner in our RevShare program. I do look at processes. And so kind of a basic guideline that I'm looking for is, are you using a CRM? That's usually one of my first questions that I ask when we're jumping into a conversation is, are you using a CRM? What CRM is that? It just gives better organization and better processes as a whole. Typically, obviously that's not the case always, but 8 times out of 10, if you have a CRM, it means that your data is a little bit more organized. Everybody can access the CRM, look at that lead data, and just have better processes around that. So I do look, okay, do you have a CRM? What is that CRM? Second thing that I'm looking at is who calls on your leads right now. Typically for RevShare, well, like I say, this is typically, it's not every case scenario, but typically on a RevShare, if it's someone that's owner operated, usually not the best fit for RevShare, simply just because you're not able to get that speed to lead. If you're out in the field doing a sales call and a lead comes in, you're not going to be able to just call up that lead right away and have that speed to lead to have success. So I'm looking at who's calling your leads, and I like to ensure that it's not someone that's out in the field running the sales call. So whether that's an office admin, a call center, if you have 3 appointment setters, whatever you want to call them, just someone that's separate from those out in the field that can call your leads and give your leads the speed to lead that they need to nurture them appropriately. And so when I'm looking at it, those are the top 2 things that I'm looking at. Are you using a CRM? Who calls your leads? Need to make sure it's not your sales reps. And then other things that I ask is, okay, do you have sales reps? Who's going out in the field? How many sales reps do you have? Just making sure that you have someone, just kind of jumping deeper in that same conversation, and make sure that you have someone that's going out there that can still run those appointments as well. And so really those things are what I'm looking for there. Just ensures that you have the right processes in place. In addition to that, something that I've started looking at now as well, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is what's your territory? And so I need a zip code list from you to see, okay, what does your territory look like? How many contractors do I have on my platform in your territory? And how are those contractors performing? And so my very first screening is just making sure you have the right processes in place. My second screening is just making sure that our platform can support you on a RevShare basis. And so, for example, areas up by DC on almost every trade is just flooded, and people are just crushing it. They're doing great in that area, which we love to see. But it just makes it so we can't onboard anybody else on a paper sale on the RevShare in that area, simply because A, you're not going to get any volume. Those people are doing too well. It's not going to trickle down. And B, if we stole volume from them, that's not fair to our folks that have been with us for a while. So in those areas specifically, that's going to be an area that I know off the top of my head always, at least right now, isn't a good fit for paper sale.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, at the end of the day, it's just we're having a conversation. I think, companies who have success versus have not had success with, we have a basic thing on our website. Again, we're looking for companies who have had success with online leads as well. So if you've never had online success with online leads, we are often not the best company it's not going to be magic. There's no magic bullet here. This is still generating a customer online. They still don't know you. This is not a referral. This is not somebody who, so it's going to be you're starting from ground zero with this customer, trying to go from 0 to 100 and ask them for $20,000 in the first meeting. So you have to have a sales system and a sales process that is really good at being able to go from 0 all the way to that sale. So if you don't have a sales process right now, I would highly, highly recommend doing that first, trying out other lead generators. If you've made other lead generators, online lead generators work, and you're looking to scale and you just want more volume, we're a plug and play. It's often a fantastic fit. But we're, like I said, it's, being the only online lead generator, it could be a rude awakening. We've had some companies who have they started off, all they do is canvassing right now. Their sales reps knock on the door and sell a retail job knocking on doors. And they end up being a fantastic fit because it's the same type of customer. It's like, I just met you yesterday and now I'm selling you a $20,000 roof. Nice to meet you and great to do business with you. And you have a sales process defined and set up, which is different than, again, somebody who's working referrals.
Yes.
So, lots of good questions here, Lisa. You've got talking about what's the kind of timeline sales need to happen. We've got that one already. Our pay-per appointment rate. So, Michaella, you said obviously if they're not a fit for revenue share, they could go pay-per appointment. So let's touch on that really quick here.
Yep. And so pay-per appointment, We have a couple different routes with this. So with typically, so for roofing, siding, windows, and bath, it's going to be $250 per appointment. And that's going to be for full replacements. When it comes to roofing, siding, and windows, full replacements, windows, it's going to be 3 or more windows is the $250. If you want to have something like repairs on, that's $100. Gutters is also $100. And then that's with returns on. And so to kind of dive into how returns work is basically if the homeowner ends up canceling the appointment, it qualifies for credit. If they no-show your company, it qualifies for credit. If you've reached out 6 times, 3 calls, 3 texts, they never answer to be able to confirm that appointment, qualifies for credit. If it's invalid information, wrong phone number, wrong address, whatever it may be, that qualifies for a credit, as well as if it's a duplicate lead. So if you've received that lead within the last 60 days that has turned into a set appointment already, that's going to qualify for credit as well. And we do have some things on our contract where you get to mark which ags you're currently working with. That way we can try to reduce those duplicates so we can ensure that we're not purchasing from those other lead ags on your behalf.
Yep, absolutely. And then just minimum number of zip codes. At least they say you guys have 65 zip codes that you cover. Is that enough? Or is there a minimum number of zip codes?
Yeah, I mean, it's relative. And so it's something that, Lisa, we can have a conversation on it too. I can send you an email or you can send me an email. We can run those zip codes, see what they look like. As far as a minimum number, in our dashboard, I believe it requires a minimum of 25. So 65 is over that minimum, so that's fine. But we can definitely look at those 65 zip codes and just look at what that territory looks like, see who I have on my platform, how they're performing, and what volume looks like.
Yeah. Zip codes are much different on the West Coast than East Coast here too. And especially population, density in those zip codes and so forth. But yeah, absolutely. We got another question here. I've just kind of are we confirming in that pre-screen process a 2-party participation? So in that process, that's a great question.
Not currently, no. So we don't dive that deep. We basically just confirm that they are the homeowner, but that is something that a lot of our contractors do require. And so that's something that when you call that homeowner, you can process that out. And that's why we do give that flexibility where you can move that appointment time around as needed. So that way, if you need all the decision makers home, you can make that clear in your call with them and move that appointment time if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Chad, you asked if we integrate with Market Sharp, and the answer to that is yes, we have a direct integration. All we need is your company ID, or that's what it's called. I haven't done that in a while, but it's just your company ID with Market Sharp, and then we can get that integrated. Stevie just asked about kind of startup costs. How many appointments or leads can we get a day? It's good questions.
Yeah, startup costs. There is a startup cost associated with our pay per appointment right now. We require a $2,500 deposit or the first 10 upfront in payment when you onboard with pay per appointment. So $2,500 sits as a credit on your account, gets used towards those first 10 appointments. After that, it's just a pay-as-you-go frequency. That doesn't mean you need to continually put $2,500 on the account. Just means that we're doing that one-time $2,500 deposit at onboarding. As far as appointments a day, that varies so widely. It really depends on what area you're in. And that's usually something I go over when we do our call. If you supply me a zip code list, I'll look at my previous month's data and I make some conservative projections based on what we've had in the month prior.
Yep, absolutely. And then for just how much per appointment for gutters? That was, we got a question there.
Yeah, so gutters are a little bit less. They're $100.
Yep, absolutely. And startup costs for revenue share?
There's not one at the moment.
There's the same with the kind of our upfront payment side of things for pay per appointment. The really the reason behind those is really just to make sure that anytime you start a new lead program, you want to make sure that you've got skin in the game. Obviously with revenue share and with pay per appointment, we want to make sure we're working with companies who are committed to working every customer and every appointment, every one of these homeowners. Like we've done a significant amount to get them in the door for you. And we want to make sure that we've got equal buy-in from the companies on the platform that choose to sign up. So we have fantastic customers right now, and if we send you an appointment as a new customer, we want to make that means that it's potential that another company doesn't get it. So we want to make sure it's going to a good company. So percentages, Chad asked about percentages again on revenue share.
Yep.
You might want to do those again.
Yep. So roofing, siding, and gutters is at 12%. Bathrooms and windows are at 15%. And then Eric, I see your question as well. We don't currently have installation leads.
Yeah. So we definitely hope to get into other markets, but roofing, siding, windows, bath are really our main primary trades. We also obviously get some gutter stuff as well. Very little volume in that category right now, but roofing and windows and bath is really where the majority of all of our volume is at this point. So, and that's just continue to grow here as well. So we hope to get into other trades and other project categories as well eventually here. So keep posted. But you asked about mold remediation there too. Yep, that's not on the docket as of right now. But I do want to go touch on that question that came in, Jackie. You had asked about. Maybe it was Jackie. You came back from a conference in Philly, just talking that lead generation. Everybody's experiencing lower volume this year, has gone on, and what we're seeing on our platforms. That's a great question. So I can say this is definitely a tricky question because we've been growing as a company significantly month over month, year over year, for the last really 6 years going, even longer than that now. And so we're growing as a company, and we are investing more and more of our media dollars into internal media. As Michaella said, we purchase leads, and we're going to try to get leads from every means possible. So we're buying leads from lead aggregators. We're buying leads from their unsold leads. We're trying to buy leads from working with direct publishers as well. These kind of big publishers that are out there and buying leads directly from them. So we're trying to get leads across the board. I would say that volume, buying leads from third parties, has decreased this year. So overall homeowner demand across the industry, we've kind of seen that taper off a little bit post-COVID. That post-COVID demand that we saw in 2020 and 2021 and 2022. And so we've seen a demand decrease. Internally, we have doubled down on our own internal media. So the people are going to our website is significantly increased. So that is growing at a tremendous rate and will continue to grow through the rest of this quarter and into next year. Our goal is to have that be a far more significant impact to our contractor network, and it impacts quality and everything when it's in our internal media, and we can own that homeowner experience from start to finish. So that's a huge piece of it. So I think a good question. There was another question of just why the decrease, and I think part of that is COVID, and we had such a high demand that it had to correct itself at some point. I also believe that there's just been a lot of, in the last 2 years as well. I mean, when COVID was happening, there was an abundance of leads. Everyone was, thinking about projects to their home because it was all relevant, and there was excess money that was being flooded in. Financing was more readily available. The impact of financing rates, impact of inflation has taken a toll on the industry as a whole. And I don't, that doesn't mean I've been through enough of these ups and downs that I don't think nothing's going away. I think setting yourself up expectation wise that the number of online leads are going to probably stay where they're at, or potentially the quantity of them may decrease even slightly. That it could be kind of the expectation, and kind of more leveling out is what it's going to be. So looking at your post-COVID numbers, looking at pre-COVID numbers back to 2019, all that kind of stuff is often a really good way to kind of start setting your expectations for like kind of what the volume may be. That doesn't mean you can't grow. There's still companies that are absolutely growing like crazy within the home improvement space right now, and even though their quantity has decreased. So other questions, what do we have a timeline for any other trades being added? We really don't right now. We have doubled, tripled down on the trades that we have right now. Trying to increase volume is our number one goal right now, especially internal lead volume, to improve that homeowner journey and homeowner project process on that. A question just here, just how walking through that homeowner booking process is during that pre-screening process, for how our appointments booked during that pre-screening process. Michaella, do you want to go through that once again real quick here?
Yeah. So when we're booking those times, so we're doing our basic pre-screening. We're basically confirming their information, confirming that they're interested, confirming they're the homeowner, confirming what the trade is, whether it's repair, replacement, what type of material, if it's roofing or siding related, how many windows they need replaced, what type of bathroom lead is it? Is it wet space? Is it remodel? And then from there, we're just giving basic dates and times that our contractors are available for the homeowner to book with. They get to choose that preferred date and time. And then we set that expectation that it's a preferred date and time. And then once they get that, they know who they're booking with at that point. And that's when we're sending it your way and that homeowner's expecting a call.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, it's, again, we're trying to improve this homeowner journey, and it's all about setting expectations so that you're going to call them and you're going to be the one confirming that appointment and so forth. And with any of your lead partners that you work with, and we are by no means the only company that you should be working with in the lead generation space. Obviously doing your own media and so forth is just always trying to drive towards that, looking at it from the consumer's point of view, and then matching wherever the consumer is coming in at, trying to match wherever they're coming in, and helping them with a better journey, better experience on that side. Because I truly believe the better we can serve our customers and match where their intent of why they actually arrived in the first place, the better the whole journey will be for them, and everybody will be happier in this process. So we'll give another couple of seconds here for questions. I would just have to say, like, the chat here is amazing. You guys are awesome. These are fantastic questions here today. I appreciate you guys showing up and asking great questions. So this is fantastic.
And I did put my email at the very top and in the chat. So if you guys want to book anything or have any more questions, feel free to email me. The sales@contractorappointments.com goes directly to me. I can give you scheduling links so we can schedule a call. You can ask questions. You can provide me your zip codes, whatever you want to do. I can jump in and talk to you about that. No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's about it here today. And again, we do these webinars pretty regularly. So watch out for another email here from Michaella. So we'll get on we're always trying to interview amazing guests, amazing topics to help your business grow. So without further ado, I appreciate all your time today, and we're honored that you showed up and listened to us chat.